Alright, you've clicked on this video, and you've seen the specific spoiler warnings for these specific series, and you're probably asking yourself, what in the hell is Kaginado, and why are these specific series involved? To start, I want to momentarily turn back the clock to April 2021. I'm on the internet searching up things on social media and Google, and the moment I punch in Clannad randomly, a certain announcement trailer is brought to my attention, which prompts me to then view the short trailer, post it to YouTube. Turns out said announcement was for a chibi animated miniseries revolving around various elements and characters from the library of key animation, all coming together in this one world, Clannad included. Hence why the series' existence was brought to my attention that spring day. And I do like watching animated chibi shorts from time to time, so this would be up my alley. But wait, what about Angel Beats, you may be asking? I'll get there when I get there, but first, let's start from the top from episode 1, in the auditorium. While I was unfamiliar with the planetarian The Reverie of a Little Planet character hosting this vast presentation, I didn't feel so, for lack of a better term, far from home when I recognized a familiar green Dango plushie and blue school uniform. Having watched Clannad After Story, I knew exactly who that was right off the bat, which allowed me to feel welcome despite some various elements of unfamiliarity. What follows is the show implementing its elements one by one, as each group of characters from each of their respective universes are introduced. While most of the 5 series didn't 100% resonate with me, too much at all, Clannad's segment that intentionally mirrored the climax of its first season did. The one thing that all 5 of these moments seemingly share across the board is that they all replicate climactic and emotional moments taken directly from their shows, while preparing to immediately cut things short to serve as a comedic jab. What I appreciate from the Kaginado team is I'm not 100% at risk for spoilers from the other series I'm not too familiar with. And since I'm not too familiar with the other series, these moments don't give away too much of the emotional poignancy from the original source material due to the abrupt comedic cutoff, on top of being animated in the previously mentioned chibi style. But admittedly for the Clannad reference, there was something for me, since that stage, the setting, the music, and how things were framed in addition to what the characters were feeling and doing in that moment was all too familiar to me, and shot me right back to 2015 when I first watched Clannad. For all of them though, I find myself laughing and smiling with the antics the characters find themselves in. In addition, I think the comedic moments these introductions implement really help in laying down the ground rules of what Kaginado is, a comedic, chibi-styled crossover that commemorates every single key animation project included within the show for hardcore fans to enjoy and reminisce amongst themselves. And I suppose just like the characters crossing over into this one world, fans of these key animation projects can come together and unite under a common understanding as well, regardless of if they watched just one of these series or all of them. With Kaginado's continuation, there were certainly more things to come across and appreciate, or at the very least, giggle and roll my eyes at, since I understood some of the references a little too well, as I reminisced on how I first reacted to the original scenes years ago, as a fan of Clannad specifically. I guess some things never change, and characters I knew and loved will always be up to some sort of antics, thinking that they're the cream of the crop even in a chibi crossover world, while still getting their ass kicked all the same, just like back home. And it doesn't have to be by someone they know either. Which proves to be quite the clever use of their crossover situation the show finds itself in. But for moments that stand alone for the sake of mirroring what was originally done long ago, there were a few moments that made me go, oh my god. You guys ain't shit for that. Also, holy shit, that is genius. Too bad they didn't come up with that scheme back home in their original series. Otherwise, these guys would have not only been rich by now, but their eardrums could have been spared consistently being bombarded by the screeching melody produced by Katomi Ichinose. I guess in an alternate universe, like this one, that might have been the case, but her weapon is still the violin all the same. But regardless of how the material being parodied made me feel when I watched the original scenes in Clannad and Clannad After Story years ago, I still kept laughing all the same, as the jokes and references continued to be delivered at a rapid-fire pace. And while laughing, I couldn't help but have a giant grin across my face, since the moments replicated link back to the nostalgia I have for Clannad. The times when I first viewed the show as a high school student 7 years ago may be long gone, but it does feel soothing to remember these special moments these characters found themselves in and were a part of. In fact, seeing these moments in chibi form does give me an urge to return to Clannad and live through them again sometime, since I know I'd have a good time with that. While that urge may be tempting, Kaginado also managed to implant an overwhelming level of curiosity, wonder, and surprise in my mind for things I'd consider new. Take Fuko Ibuki for example. I know her for her undying love of her iconic trademark sea creature, the starfish, along with her acting quote-unquote childish and dramatic all the time. But it seems like Kaginado wanted me to notice these other two characters who also share some traits with Fuko, but in their own universe. I guess that's why they brought them all together? One day, I intend to eventually dive deeper into these characters and their series, to fully get into their stories like I did with Fuko. And despite Fuko's childlike nature, I suspect that they too have some interesting stories to share like Fuko did in the time she was on screen in Clannad. And then like how the show linked up these other characters with Fuko, we come to Ro Fujibayashi. I'd argue that among the Clannad cast present, Ro is someone that surprised the hell out of me for more than one reason. The Ro Fujibayashi I remember from Clannad is a typical shy, unassertive character who is nothing like her assertive, outgoing, and even aggressive at times twin sister, Kyo Fujibayashi. This Ro in Kaginado though, I guess she was tired of being herself and what she was commonly known for in her original show, and this chibi-like world that she finds herself in is her opportunity to vent her frustrations, something she couldn't do back home. I know it's a parody and the characters are meant to show the audience how they truly feel about being under their sister's shadow, among other protagonists, but these were still questions I asked myself. Like the other two who were accompanying Fuko, I don't know who these characters are, but the fact that Rose linked up with other characters I'm unfamiliar with, especially with the baseball episode, episode 7, makes me suspect that they too have their own internal disdains they wish to express towards their siblings here in Kaginado. It was also interesting and shocking in some ways that this specific shot in said baseball episode made me convinced that Ro was Kyo for a moment. I mean, it's not the first time my mind was prompted to think that, but in the opposite direction in one of Clannad Afterstory's post-story episodes. But it still caught me off guard all the same for just a moment, while I took note of these characters since, again, I'd love to explore these other series I never got a chance to watch, and I feel like this is Kaginado's subtle way of prompting me to eventually do just that. And then there's other little things I appreciate as a Clannad fan, from the occasional art featured in the credits of paying homage to Clannad, to moments I never saw in the original show all too much. I also have to admit that there's still some references within Clannad's universe that I'm missing, but maybe I'll fill in those blanks too one day. As much as I appreciated Kaginado's efforts in recreating Clannad's iconic moments that I think back on fondly in chibi form momentarily, there were also other moments that really sold me on Kaginado. Take Clannad and Clannad Afterstory again, for example. In these shows, Tomoya and Nagisa mention a few times about going to the beach. As much as I want to admit it wasn't a big deal, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to see a beach-related episode with the Clannad characters. Kaginado, all these years later, just casually says, "Here you go. I got something I didn't know I needed in my life, and I'm all for it, honestly. I mean, just look at them." When I thought things couldn't get any more exciting, the SSS, also known as the Afterlife Rebellion, show up out of nowhere, and while later they confess they've actually been keeping an eye on the activities playing out in Kaginado's world, this is the first time I was hyped. Like, legitimately hyped. I felt like I knew who that was when the light beamed down on them, but as soon as I realized it was Hinata, there was one dominant image that played back in my head once I realized it was him. Rocket propelled chair. Don't ask Yuri why, but she just loves seeing that man being yeeted into the ceiling. But if you were to ask me how I felt with the Angel Beats cast popping up, it comes from a place of understanding actually. I'm usually very mellow about reacting to things, hence why I don't produce those types of videos myself, so they wouldn't be very entertaining. But I guess now I understand what other friends feel when they jump out of their chairs when something or someone surprises them when watching certain announcements regarding certain series, like when Sora from Kingdom Hearts was revealed for Smash Brothers, for example. But I think when it comes to the Angel Beats cast popping up after all these years, I think I remember what it's like to feel hyped, since I haven't felt that since I don't know, mid-2020, and for good measure, early 2021. And yeah, even now, to an extent, since I got a few things I have to wait until 2023 for, but I'm hyped for them all the same. What ties into the hype was the unexpectedness of this encounter with the Angel Beats cast. Then again, so were the other examples. But I digress. The previously 5 shows that I mentioned were all advertised to be part of this chibi crossover special, but there was zero indication anywhere related to Angel Beats or its characters. Throughout October to December 2021, I watched as I hastily kept an eye on what antics the Clannad cast would get themselves into, and I was convinced that only the Clannad cast would be of any interest to me. But when that final episode came about that December, as an announcement followed almost immediately that a second season was due for April 2022, now I had 2 series I understood from the catalog of series and its respective characters that were extracted and put into this show. It was also mind-blowing to learn that they were with us the entire time from episode 2 onward, disguised as these faceless avatars. I guess for their sake, it worked, since no one suspected a thing. But now that they've come out to make their own individual and unique contributions to Kaginado, like the Clannad cast, there's a lot of things that I appreciate as an Angel Beats fan, which yes, does also include Angel Beats commemorative art in the credits on occasion as well. Unlike the Clannad cast though, the Angel Beats cast in particular seem to take themselves seriously to an absurd degree, even in this chibi-esque world. In their original series, it worked to a T, especially since the character's original subject matter can get pretty heavy, to put it lightly. And yes, I recognize the irony of saying that something heavy is considered light. Not to say it doesn't work in Kaginado, but often at times the show itself or the other characters within the show do everything in their power to ensure that things backfire for the Angel Beats characters. It's also kind of relieving to enjoy the existence of these characters once more, without any soul-crushing moments ready to tear an audience's emotions apart. Same goes for everyone else really. There's initial excitement and intrigue to have Yuri Nakamura take command of the Afterlife battlefront once again, as she, along with her fellow SSS members, are surrounded by a faint blue light cast by their screen in their headquarters during their briefings. But then what follows is laughter, as the things these guys get up to in an attempt to, quote-unquote, bring out God, just like the original show, are absurd. And because they try to take themselves way too seriously, some even get bullied for their undertakings, which again, is part of the enjoyment, I'm not gonna lie. But when they're not being bullied, I like that just like Clannad, I get to enjoy Angel Beats moments that continues to induce that initial nostalgia I had for the show. Take Exhibit A for example, Mapo Tofu. Remember? The one thing that no one dared to order on the menu inside the school of Angel Beats, but Kaginado seemed to really take a liking to that dish, despite the gruesome spiciness that burn up any other poor soul trying to eat it. As for me though, I still want some of that tofu after all these years, not gonna lie. But let's not get distracted by salivating over a food dish displayed in an anime. Exhibit B, My Song. This was the official magnum opus that allowed Masami Iwasawa to find peace within herself in her final crucial moments in Angel Beats episode 3 as she passed on. Hearing it all these years later once again took me back to those moments and reminded me of the fact that Angel Beats intro momentarily changed in Angel Beats episode 4 as a matter of fact, with Yui taking reins of Girl's Dead Monster momentarily. But since we're still in Kaginado, just like a certain Clannad reference I inferred to, there I go again, laughing while momentarily screaming, "Oh no, not again." And don't worry, they ain't going anywhere. This time. The last tiny thing I guess I want to bring up is, since the Angel Beats cast exists in this crossover world with everyone, they get that chance to interact with the other characters many times. Though since I'm more into Clannad, I was giddier when seeing Yukine, for example, offering Yuri something to drink so she could calm down. It's a very tiny thing, but I guess it validates and strengthens the very reasons I got attached to Clannad and Angel Beats back in the day. So to see them all together was very heartwarming. Throughout this video, I know I followed a pattern with pointing out how nostalgia drew my attention towards Kaginado, but honestly, in any shape or form, I thought there was zero possibility to see the Angel Beats or Clannad characters again, since their original series ended on an impactful note before we all had to say goodbye to all of them, one by one. so I'm just super stoked that I got to see them all again. Yeah, maybe one of them had been brought up here and there with a mobile game collaboration or two, but never would I have imagined seeing them again in a show, courtesy of anime streaming services I used to view them. There definitely were tears of great sorrow, fused with gratefulness shed back then for both shows, but following the Angel Beats and Clannad cast respectfully throughout Kaginado infused a great joy within me, even if it was soon replaced with a familiar dread. I knew that even if these characters were with me again in my life, I knew that the time to say farewell to them all again was inevitable. But even if there's a certain sadness implanted within me as I confront the inevitable goodbye again for both of these series' characters, in a clever way, to me at least, the writers used Ushio to represent the audience's feeling by the end of this, with her saying that she had fun and her asking if it's over, are very similar questions that conjured up in my mind as Kaginado concluded. But to comfort the audience and relieve someone like myself of my dread of this series being over, there's something that Yumemi Hoshino departs on both Ushio Okazaki and us. The story continues as long as someone, somewhere, loves that world. Taking that quote at face value, obviously that doesn't mean series like Clannad, Angel Beats, or the other respective series included in Kaginado are going to continue. But thinking about this further, something that every single fan of every one of these series can share is a reminder that these stories and these characters that we grew to love will stay with us forever. And even if these respective stories have concluded, the moments that we've experienced will never truly leave us as long as we remember and cherish the time we had with these characters. I understand we live in a world where things are in constant rotation. One show or trend ends, while another rises just as quickly to take its place. But regardless of the rapid pace this content is pumped out in the media world, I like to cherish the things I've grown attached to, regardless of if their popularity has died down or not. And in the case of Clannad, Angel Beats, and now Kaginado even, I can say with absolute certainty that I'll hold on to the memories of these shows for as long as I live. And that's pretty much it. This is a fun, short, and quick video I wanted to make, but it may not be the last time I touch upon this subject. Naming this video The Kaginado Experience Part 1 is giving myself leeway to return to Kaginado in a future video and making myself open to eventually checking out the other series that were included in this chibi crossover. As previously stated, the references included from those other shows flew over my head, so I'm hoping that once I get the opportunity to view these shows, that I'll be able to come back and make a part 2 to this video of sorts. But until that day comes, I wanted to thank you all for stopping by and watching this video all the way through. While it may be a long time until I get to part 2 of this video, making this video also gives me perfect leeway for 2 specific review videos that I wanted to do for a long time, and I've been making the necessary preparations so that they can be released in August. Beyond August? Well, I'm making plans, but bear with me as I make adjustments to my own personal and content creator schedule. I was going to make a video on The Matrix Resurrections, but I decided that it'd be a hindrance to my attempts at making reviews on Clannad and Clannad Afterstory, so I'm saving that video essay for another day. Even my Review Starlight review that I wanted to have out for a while, even going back as far as when I was making the Jak 3 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart videos last year, is something I'm going to need to push back as well, since I decided it'd be too much to handle everything. One has to acknowledge their own limits before suffocating under the pressure of completing all these projects at the same time. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, check out the description for links to playlists that contain my other work, and if you want to stick around for future content I produce and want to continue supporting me further, consider subscribing to the channel and or pledging to me on my Patreon page. So, until next time everyone, take care of yourselves and farewell.